Hi everyone, and welcome to Monday Morning Mind Facts with Corinne and Noelle.
Today we'll be discussing appearance in politics. We all may like to think that we're sophisticated, intelligent people, that we would never be swayed by something as shallow as looks, but science says otherwise. It turns out that many of us do in fact judge the book by its cover. The physical appearance and constructed image of a political official has a far greater impact on voters' perceptions than many are consciously aware of. Don't believe it? Let's look at some research.
Psychologists from the University of Minnesota and the University of Wisconsin conducted an experiment with college students to determine whether physical attractiveness is linked to the attribution of more desirable personality traits. Each student was presented with 3 envelopes containing a single photograph. The first envelope held a photograph of an attractive individual, the second an average-looking individual, and the third an unattractive individual. The level of attractiveness of each of these photographs was assessed arbitrarily prior to this experiment. The subjects were then asked to rate the individuals in several different categories, including personality traits, marital status, occupational success, and overall happiness, all based on the photographs alone. In each category, the most attractive person received the highest rating, followed by the average one, then the unattractive one. The higher the number, the more socially desirable the individual was perceived to be. Notice the numbers increasing from left to right. These results indicate a positive correlation between physical attractiveness and more socially desirable personality and success. We undeniably assume that highly attractive individuals have better prospects for happy social and professional lives. This tendency is known as the halo effect, a cognitive bias in which people formulate thoughts and feelings towards something based on an overall impression given from it. If this attribution of traits on the basis of appearance occurs when evaluating everyday people seen for the first time, how does it affect the manner in which we evaluate our leaders? Do we assume that people in power possess specific strengths or will act in a certain way simply because of the way they look? The answer, in most cases, is yes.
This is just one of many studies proving that looks matter. The question is why. As educated human beings with debates, political analysis, and interviews at our fingertips, why is it that we as voters still allow something as unimportant as looks to be a factor in our decision? A lot of it comes down to science, and specifically facial processing. In 1/10 of a second, that's this fast, your brain has already picked up a wealth of information about this face. For the sake of politics, let's say it's the face of a candidate. So in 1/10 of a second, let's go over what you've learned. You have now analyzed the structure of the face, searched your memory for matching images, identified emotional expression, and began a search for identity. So in simpler terms, before a candidate even opens his or her mouth, you have been primed to think certain things and make associations based on appearance. Facial processing is largely automatic and occurs almost instantly and independently of cognitive processing. So why does this matter? It matters because it means voters are coming to conclusions based on visuals prior to using cognitive processing to understand semantic information, which could be, for example, what a candidate says in a speech. This explanation is demonstrated perfectly by a negative CBS News report discussing Ronald Reagan during the 1984 election. Instead of being upset by the negative reports, Reagan's campaign team was happy, saying, "When you're showing 4.5 minutes of great pictures of Ronald Reagan, no one listens to what you have to say. Don't you know that the pictures are overriding your message because they conflict with your message? The public sees those pictures and they block your message. They didn't even hear what you said, so in our minds, it was a 4.5 minute free ad for the Ronald Reagan campaign for re-election." This assumes that viewers are paying more attention to the images than what was being said, trusting that visual processing overrides semantics.
Part of the influence appearance has is based on the use of heuristics. Heuristics are mental shortcuts that bring us to conclusions or judgments on people or events, often when we don't have a complete set of information. One of the most common heuristics used in politics would be an individual's party affiliation. Often, instead of gathering the proper amount of information about a candidate, we use their party affiliation as a mental shortcut to bring us to a conclusion about a candidate's beliefs or stances. More important to today's discussion, candidate appearance is also becoming a heuristic. Based on physical appearance, things such as race, height, or attractiveness, voters are using shortcuts to make judgments based on these physical cues. The stereotypes and conclusions that heuristics direct us towards are not always accurate. So at this point, it seems clear that certain appearances serve as an asset to candidates. While in some cases, it may just be attractiveness that sways voters, in other cases, it can be a look of competence and leadership. Now let's take a look at what features give people these desired appearances. If you're not born with the natural look of beauty, don't give up yet. Research shows that a look of competence can have just as great an effect on voters. A study done by the University of California determined some facial features commonly associated with competence. These include things such as eyes with more curvature on the top rather than the bottom, short hair parted on one side or combed back, hairline with a slight widow's peak, a broad or round face, and a smile. Also, across both male and females, certain other traits are beneficial. Height in both males and females is a positive feature to have. Also, it has been found that self-care, good grooming and hygiene, as well as good posture, are beneficial for both male and female candidates. What is interesting is that while these features apply to both genders, when one looks at gender-specific features, there are far more correlations to be found when one looks at the female candidate.
For example, an article in Time magazine examines the effect a candidate's weight has. Research found in the journal Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion concluded that skinny political candidates get more votes than overweight ones, and the greater the weight disparity between the candidates, the greater voters favored the thinner politician. While this is true among both sexes, overweight males are far more likely to even just get on the ballot when compared to overweight females. This goes along with research that concluded that men who are slightly heavy tend not to experience discrimination like that of slightly overweight women. In addition to weight being a factor for females, femininity is as well. A study done at Dartmouth College showed that the more feminine a female candidate is, the better her chances of being elected, and masculine qualities can hurt her chances. The study found this was especially true among Republicans. On the flip side, an article in the Wall Street Journal discussed that both men and women perceive men who are physically strong to be better leaders. However, in studies with women, there has been no correlation between physical strength and perceived leadership capabilities, so female candidates can put down those dumbbells.
So where can we find real-life examples of these leaders whose appearances dictated voter perceptions? Countless past and present political officials epitomize this phenomenon. Many have even exploited its existence and constructed a more ideal image to strengthen their appeal to voters. A classic demonstration of voter bias towards the more attractive candidate occurred at the Nixon-Kennedy debate in 1960. This was the first televised debate, and it prompted controversy among Americans as to who truly won. Those who listened to the debate on radio confidently proclaimed Nixon to be the winner, whereas those who tuned in via television thought that Kennedy triumphed. If voters' basis for a successful candidate relied solely on their political views and discussion of topics, shouldn't one candidate have won regardless of the viewing platform because they were saying the exact same thing? The only variable between these two viewing methods that is accredited with this discrepancy was seeing or not seeing the candidates. On television, Kennedy appeared poised, rested, and put together. Nixon, conversely, was disheveled, perspiring, and less physically attractive. It was this physical view of Kennedy through debates that gave him a competitive advantage. Before televised debates, the race for presidency was nearly even, but after airing debates, Kennedy surged ahead, gaining a 5% lead over Nixon.
So now you know with pretty significant certainty that appearance has some influence over the perceived success of a leader. Well, guess who also knows this? The leaders. Campaign teams can employ this knowledge to artificially construct the ideal candidate, and it happens more often than we may even realize. This constructed appearance encompasses clothing, presentation, and facial structure. Let's begin with analyzing the clothing choice of a politician. The attire a candidate chooses to wear can affect the manner in which the public perceives them. The way Hillary Clinton has been scrutinized by the media is a prime example of the emphasis on wardrobe. In her 2008 campaign, she was ridiculed for her dowdy and matronly style and her rainbow-colored pantsuits, which yielded loads of attention from the public. In her 2016 campaign, Clinton has learned how to use her pantsuits to her political advantage instead of her downfall. She now wears more designer products like Ralph Lauren and Nina McClemmer. She has also changed to a softer style to further relate to the everyday woman, and it seems that these alterations are working to an extent. According to Professor Andy J. Yap, this new approach was revealed to be more relatable at the June rally.
The next aspect of constructed image is presentation, which we will first continue to examine through Hillary Clinton. Psychologists have observed that comparative to her previous campaign, she smiles much more. The smile is known as the Duchenne smile, aka the genuine smile, which involves engagement of both the zygomatic major muscles and the orbicularis oculi muscles, or the crow's feet around the eye. She also is observed to be presenting a more confident demeanor, making her appear warm and competent. Barack Obama has also used his presentation to his advantage in the race for presidency. In the 2008 debates against John McCain, Obama's deep voice, engaging hand gestures, and habit of gazing on intently as McCain spoke exuded a sense of charm, respect, and confidence. McCain, with his obviously forced grins and habit of rolling his eyes at Obama's words, appeared angry and unlikable. Meanwhile, McCain's white hair, bad shoulder, and slight limp made him seem frail. This presentation is likely a contributing factor to Obama's subsequent election success. The last component of constructed image is facial structure. What do candidates do if their face is undesirable, or age takes a toll on their attractiveness and political advantage? Well, for a simple payment of just a few $1,000s, politicians can enhance their attractiveness through plastic surgery. Countless politicians have been accused of paying for facelifts or Botox. Governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, has been thought to have plastic surgery. Joe Biden has been under public suspicion for receiving Botox injections. A theory exists supporting that Kim Jong-un underwent plastic surgery to construct a face strikingly similar to his grandfather's. While much of this is purely speculation, and many of these politicians will deny such allegations outright, plastic surgeons have posed medical evidence that supports this occurrence. Barry Cohen, a Rockville plastic surgeon, explicitly stated when speaking of Joe Biden, "He clearly has had Botox. The lines are gone on his forehead. There is no way makeup or surgery could do that." Georgetown spa owner Erwin Gomez agrees. On the right and left temple, you can see the lines, but he has no wrinkles in his forehead. He suspects that the senator had a shot of Botox in his brow to disable his scowl muscle, which can also bring an unwanted heaviness to the eyelids. Even more supporting evidence came from Dr. Cap Lassen, a board-certified plastic surgeon, who noted that about 10 years ago he began to see an increase in the number of politicians entering his practice facility. In the past 5 years, he has treated at least 18 federal, state, and local government officials.
Instead of debating which political figures have or have not received plastic surgery, what's more important is whether there is a reason to get surgery at all. Hillary Clinton has been scrutinized for her aging appearance, and many media consultants have suggested that plastic surgery would benefit her campaign. This public pressure to undergo wrinkle-reducing surgery demonstrates the social stigma that political leaders should look attractive. We all as humans are culprits, forming opinions based on outward appearance and overlooking what's really important. With this new information, we must try to overcome appearance heuristics. Consider more than what you see at first glance when evaluating potential candidates. Looking deeper than the surface will help us to form meaningful judgments.
Thanks for listening. We won't see you next time because we're graduating.